Hello everyone, and this is BioPhoenix here, and today we're going to be doing a pickup video for the month of April, and not as in April O'Neil from the Ninja Turtles, but just in case you were confused, well, we're talking about the month, which I don't think anyone would be confused, but you know what, fuck it, whatever. So anyways, nothing much I can really complain about this month. Everything has been going pretty good, and not only that, but the anime feature is over. So for those of you that have watched it, well, I do thank you for watching them, and if you haven't watched them because you probably don't give a shit, well, you can just say thank fuck that's over with, because now we're back in business to what I normally do. So, before we fully begin with the pickup stuff, I gotta shout out one channel that has been added to the list. Actually, I added him to the list like quite at the beginning of the month. I haven't really found anything else yet, and this channel is the Black Metal Gamer. He's a pretty recent channel. In fact, I actually knew him before he made his channel, so you know, like I do know like quite a good amount of stuff about him, and not only that, but he does a lot of like kind of like indie like reviews sort of thing. Well, not really specifically like a review, it's more like a review and play, where it's kind of like a let's play and a review at the same time, and they're very short and sweet videos, and I really enjoy them a lot. In fact, I did a video response to him, which is really fun, so I enjoyed that a lot, and I think more people should check out his channels, because, you know, it's a good recent new channel, and I think it's really fun. So with that being said, now let's begin with the pickups. Alright, so let's begin with some Super Nintendo games that I got. There's only 3 of them here. And this first game right here is a game that I actually did a video on some time ago, and this game just happens to be Phalanx on the Super Nintendo. And as you know, it's a shoot-'em-up that has like a very ridiculous cover of an old guy having a banjo. I was gonna say wearing a banjo, like how do you do that? Well, anyways, it's basically he's playing a banjo, and there's also a dog, which I never knew that, because normally on the box cover, there's no dog, but on the cart, there's a dog. I don't know, that just amused me, because I never knew that. So, you know, as I already said about this game before, in case you haven't watched the video, I actually really enjoyed this one. I think it's a really good shoot-'em-up. Now, it's not like the best shoot-'em-up ever, but I think it's pretty fun. I mean, it has some really nice graphics, it has some really good music. Actually, the music in this game is actually really good. Really enjoyed it a whole lot. And there's nothing a whole lot I can really say that's bad about it, really. I mean, yeah, the game, like, in the second level gets, like, ridiculously hard, but, you know, it's... I kind of suspect that, though, but then again, I'm not really good at these kinds of games, but I still enjoy them for what they are, and this one is definitely a hell of a good time, at least for me, anyways. So, if you like shoot-'em-ups, I would actually recommend you to go check this one out. It shouldn't be too expensive. I mean, I got it for $10, and I think that's because, like, the person that I usually buy games off of, he gives me them for, like, a really good price, so that's all I have to say about that. But, yeah, definitely a really good game that not many people talk about, except for the fact that they talk about how dumb the cover looks, and yeah, it's dumb, but it is funny. So as for the next Super Nintendo game, this one right here is a game that I've played on emulation many times, mostly because, well, it's a really good game, and not only that, but it's a game I never actually thought I'd actually own, and that happens to be The Legend of the Mystical Ninja from Konami, which were amazing back then, unlike now. So, anyways, this is a really interesting game because it's kind of like a mix between like a platforming game, because there are some parts in it where it's actually like a side-scrolling platformer, and then there are some parts where it's kind of like a top-down like adventure game, which is really cool. I really like that aspect of it. And of course, the other thing that I really like about it is, like, you know, like the music, the graphics, and it's just really wacky, which I really like, because, you know, that's definitely up my alley. So, you know, the Goemon series has, like, in general, I haven't really experienced with most of them. I mean, I've played this one, and I've played a little bit of the N64 one, but not a whole lot about it. But I know the N64 one does play quite a bit differently from what I remember. It's been a while, but this is a pretty good series, though, from what I've been told. And I know that this is actually not the first game in the series. There's actually a couple of them on the Famicom, I think, and the arcade. I can't remember. It's been a while since I've looked through it all, but it is interesting to know that this is actually not the first one in the series, because I think a lot of people do think it is the first one because it's the first one that they've played or heard about, but there's actually a few others, though, but they're only in Japan, I believe. But it's still interesting to know, and of course the game is just awesome. So anyways, so with that being said, I actually got this one for about $40, which I think is actually not a bad deal at all, considering that he was originally selling it for $50, but he gave it to me for $40 instead, which I think is really good. So I wasn't going to pass that up, so either way though, definitely a really good game that I can definitely recommend checking out. Now the last Super Nintendo game, and this is one that I've actually never played before, but I've played the first one, and that happened to be Kid Clown in Crazy Chase. Now, I have played the NES one before, and that game was pretty good. And this is the one on the Super Nintendo, which actually plays a lot differently. Where instead of it being a side-scrolling platformer, it's kind of like a weird isometric view. It's kind of like slanted, like you're going down a hill basically, and you have to avoid a whole bunch of objects, and while you have at the same time you gotta collect like, you know, like the card things, you know, like diamond, spade, hearts, and all that kind of stuff. So basically, you just gotta avoid a whole bunch of objects while collecting those, and this game can be really fun, but at the same time, it can also be kind of frustrating because, like, there are some things that just seem a bit cheap. Like for one, like if you like trip over something, it takes like a lot of time to recover from it. So you really gotta be like fast, and you really gotta like memorize the whole thing. And of course, the one thing that is annoying is that if you finish the level, but you don't get all like those card things, then you gotta redo the level over again. Which does suck, but thankfully you don't lose a life for it. You only lose a life if you die or if you like don't make it in time, but that's usually not the case. But when you go to the later levels, though, that's when it gets really, really tough. But this game is actually pretty fun, though, especially for a game that's like kind of like because I don't think this is a sequel to Kid Clown. I think it's more of a spin-off, because there's actually a lot of these, believe it or not. Like, I know there's a few of them on like the PlayStation, and I also believe that Charlie's Blast on the N64 is also somewhat related, if I remember correctly. But that's a very loose thing, though. But with this one aside, though, I think this is actually a pretty fun game, and it's also a really cheap one. I got it for like $10, so, you know, not gonna complain there. And of course, it happens to be another Kemco game on the Super Nintendo that I got this month, which is kind of ironic, but still, it's a pretty good one, though. Alright, so now we got one NES game here, and this is actually a really cheap one that I've seen it many times, but I didn't really know like anything about it until I watched a video on it somewhat recently, and that happened to be Cobra Triangle. And yes, as you can tell, there's like a huge sticker on the back, but yeah, anyways, as for everything else, it does look really nice. But anyways, all the condition stuff aside there, this game is actually pretty damn fun. It's developed by Rare, and it actually does remind me a lot of RC Pro-Am, but just you're on a boat, and there's like different missions that you have to do. So I've heard about this game, like how I like really found out more about the game actually, because I've seen it before, just I didn't really know much about it, but how I really got into it there was actually from the channel Torture Vision. They did a kind of like a video talking about it and, you know, playing it and all that good stuff, and it was actually really fun and funny. And basically, the game actually really interested me. In fact, they said it was a really cheap game, and at the store they were only selling it for like $8. So it was like, you know what, why not? So that's not bad at all. But yeah, so basically it's a game where you like drive around a boat and you do different missions, and yeah, there's a lot of variety in the game. And the game gets really, really hard. Like, there's actually one mission where you have to like protect like a whole bunch of people in like a circle, and you have to make sure that the other boats don't take them. Man, that part is just fucking, like, hell. Like, it's just fucking hard as hell. Like, I just can't do it. Like, no matter how hard I try, I just can't. Because in the end, it doesn't even matter. Okay, I had to say that, but anyways, though, this is actually a really fun game, though, despite it actually being really, really hard. But it is actually a good kind of hard, though. It's not, like, hard where it's, like, impossible. It's just, you know, it's just very, very hard and challenging, which is always good. But either way, though, this is actually a really good game, and I don't hear a whole lot of people talking about it, but I will just go out and say that it's a really good, cheap NES game that I can definitely recommend to you if this sounds interesting to you, because, you know, driving around a boat does seem pretty fun, at least to me anyways. And of course, I do kind of like the cover for it, where it has like the Loch Ness Monster sort of thing. I think that's pretty cool. So now we're going to be taking a look at some Xbox stuff, and there's only two, but I'm going to take a look at the 360 one, because there's one 360 game and one regular Xbox game. And this is a game that I knew about for quite some time, but it was an exclusive, so I never got a chance to play it. And not only that, but it did get a PS3 version, but I can never find that one for some whatever reason. It's weird. So anyways, so this game just happened to be Deadly Premonition with its creepy-ass cover. So all I have to say about this game is that I've only played through the beginning part of it so far, and I'm really, really liking it. It's really interesting, it's really weird, and it's also like really like trippy, which, you know, I'm all up for that. So it's a survival horror where it kind of plays similar to a mix of like Silent Hill and Resident Evil 4. The reason why I say Resident Evil 4 is because of like the view angle that it's in, where it kind of it's like over the shoulder sort of thing. That's why it kind of reminds me of it. And the way how you shoot is also very similar to it, where you hold the button and you move the thing around you to shoot and stuff, which is cool and all. And yeah, so I can't say a whole lot about the the story aspect of it because I'm only playing the beginning part. But basically, you play as a cop, like dude, like an investigator. But he kind of seems like he's like insane because he like talks to his coffee and he always likes to mention someone named Zach. So I always think he's like crazy or something. I'm not entirely sure what the whole deal of it is, but it is funny. At least to me, it is, especially with like the voice actor playing him. So I don't know. It's a really weird game, but I really like it, and I think this is definitely a really interesting survival horror that I think more people should play. I know it did get a cult following, and apparently a lot of people when this game first came out didn't really like it. Apparently, according to IGN, because they gave it a 2 out of 10, which is definitely very harsh. Because when I played this game, it's definitely very playable. Because to me, a 2 out of 10 means like a game that's like barely playable and is just complete crap. But this is far from that. This game is actually really cool. So, with that being said, I'm really digging into this one so far, and I can't wait to play more of it. So now the last Xbox related thing, and this is a game I've heard about, but I've never really got into them for some reason, but I found it at a thrift store, and that happened to be Tie 2, the a Tasmanian Tiger Rush Rescue. Now, I have not played any of these games. I haven't even played this one yet. I just haven't got around to it, though. But it did look like a pretty cool game. It kind of reminds me of Crash Bandicoot in a way, but just you're like a tiger, I guess, and who uses a boomerang. So, unfortunately, I can't say a whole lot about it, but it looks like a pretty cool like platformer of some sort with some like racing elements and like all that kind of good stuff. So, with that being said, for like $2, like not gonna complain whatsoever. And I do want to get into this one, and I know there's like 2 other ones. Like obviously there's a first one, and I think there's a third one, and I don't know if they made another one after that though. But I'm aware that there is 3 of them. So with that being said, seems like a really cool game, and I will get into it eventually. I just haven't because well, life happens. Alrighty, so now let's move on to the Vita games, and there's 2, and this one right here is a pretty interesting one, and that is Super Beat Exonic, or Sonic, I don't know. It's like the word Sonic, but you replace the S with an X, and there you go, you got this game. So it's a rhythm game that's only on the Vita at the moment. I don't know if it'll be ported to anything else, but so far it's an exclusive, and I actually really like this one so far. So it's a rhythm game that kind of plays similar to Persona 4 Dancing All Night, because it has like the 2 ends, and you have to like hit the notes that come up over there. But I find it to be a lot harder than it because there's more buttons you gotta focus on, and then there's also the fact that, like, I don't know, I find like the songs in this game are a lot harder than any of the songs that are in Persona 4 Dancing All Night, I find. But either way, it's still a pretty fun game, and as for the music itself, well, the music is not too bad. It has a really neat variety, though, where it has like a lot of songs, like it has like a lot of like techno, trance, it has like some like jazzy kind of music, and then it also has some K-pop, and it even has some, well, apparently in this game it has metal, but from what I've heard of the metal songs, they kind of sound more like hard rock to me, but I don't know. I'm just gonna call it hard rock, but in the game itself it says metal, but I personally don't think so. But that's just my opinion on that, though. But it isn't bad though. I mean, like the metal stuff it's okay. It's not like the greatest thing I ever heard, but it's not bad. But that's the thing though. I really like the fact that this game has a lot of like genres mixed into it though. That's the thing that I really like. But of course, speaking of songs, one thing I had to get ever since I heard about it was that there's actually a DLC pack in this game where you can download songs from Guilty Gear. And as you know, I fucking love the music in Guilty Gear, so I had to get that right away. And yeah, it's from Guilty Gear, the newer one, XI or whatever. I haven't got around to playing that one yet, but that game definitely does look really fun. I need to get that one eventually, but still. The fact that you can play Guilty Gear songs in this game is actually pretty awesome. Sure, you have to pay like $3.99 for it, but still, that's pretty worth it to me because I fucking love the music in that game. But anyways, so with that being said, I think this is actually a really fun rhythm game. If you really like those kinds of games, well, I think this would definitely be a pretty good one. But of course, you have to really like the music in it. And I think all the music that are like, like except for the Guilty Gear stuff that are in this one are pretty original stuff. So I don't know if it'll be stuff that you'll know for sure, but they're all stuff I've never heard before, and I like some of them. Not all, but some. But still, it's a pretty good one. And the next Vita game, and also the last one, is a series of games that I've heard about, but I've never tried any of them out for some reason or another, but they always interested me. And this one just happened to be Earth Defense Force 2 Invaders from Planet Space. Now, I have heard about this series, but just never got around to playing it, and all I have to say is that it's basically like a really old, like, 1950s, 1960s, like, monster movie, you know, with, like, but this one, its main focus is bugs, and you gotta, like, kill them all, and, of course, like, a lot of the people on the radio say, like, some really cheesy stuff, and it's actually a really, really cool game. I really enjoy it a lot. I really want to play all the other ones in the series. Like, I know there's 2017, and then there's one on PS4, but I forget the name of that one. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of them. But either way, though, so this one is really cool because you can choose between the 3 different people. I really like using her, the chick that flies around, because, you know, you can actually fly around and shit. And I really like that, but the thing that's good about using the other 2 guys is that at least you can actually get into the vehicles, which took me quite a long time to figure out how to do that, because you have to press select, which is kind of random, but yeah, you have to press select to enter the vehicles. But either way, though, this is actually a really awesome game. I really enjoy it so far, and the game can be pretty tough at times, but it is fun, and of course, just, you know, like I said, it's like a B movie, kind of like something that would be made by, what's his name, something Wood. Shit. Someone will probably correct me on that, but either way, it's the dude that made Plan 9 from Outer Space, that dude. But yeah, it kind of reminds me of that, which is pretty funny, and which is always a nice thing to see in video games. So, with that being said, this is definitely a really cool one. I forget if this one is only on the Vita, but I know usually, because I know there's another game that's on the Vita and the PS4, which I can't remember the name of, though, but there is that one too. But still. Really cool series so far, and I can't wait to play the other ones. And of course finish this one up too. So the next thing we got here is a PS3 game, and there's only one, and this is a game I actually found at a thrift store, believe it or not. And because I'm a huge fan of James Bond, I just had to go get it, and that happened to be GoldenEye Reloaded, which, as you know, this is the GoldenEye reboot sort of thing. Well, not really reboot, it's more like a remake entirely. Well, I guess it could be a reboot too in a way, but it really does tell the same story. It's just, you know, it's done differently. But basically it plays like the good old GoldenEye that you're probably familiar with on N64. It looks a lot like it too, but it's just, you know, it's more modern looking and all that stuff. But the one thing that a lot of people criticize this game for, and that is that it actually plays a lot like Call of Duty. And I know a lot of people hate it for that, but as for me, I think it's alright. I mean, I don't think this is, like, the best, like, thing ever, but I do think it is pretty enjoyable enough. But then again, I like a lot of Bond films, so, you know, I always appreciate for that. And one thing that is kind of weird is that instead of using Pierce Brosnan, who played Bond in the GoldenEye film at the time, but instead they used the current Bond, which is Daniel Craig, so... You know, I guess some people could complain about that, but it didn't really bother me. But then again, I like Daniel Craig as Bond. I think he does a good job, so... But either way, though, this game actually isn't bad. It's just, you know... It's very Call of Duty, like, cinematics kind of way, which I know some people don't like. As for me, I'm okay with it. I mean, as you know, I don't mind Call of Duty. It's just some of them are fucking shit, and then there's some that are actually quite good. So with that being said, I think this one actually isn't bad, and considering I got it for like $4, I was like, okay, why not? So, either way though, not bad for that price, and even then, it's actually not a bad game. So now let's get into some PS2 games, and there's a couple of them over here. And first things first, let's talk about this one, and this is one I got at a thrift store, and that happened to be Powerdrome. Now, I've never heard of this game at all. In fact, I don't really know a whole lot about it before I got it and played through it for a little bit. But basically, it's a racing game, like a futuristic racing game. Kinda, sorta like F-Zero, but not quite, but, you know, kinda like the same sort of deal, because, you know, you have, like, different characters and different personalities and yada yada yada, all that kind of good stuff. And it's actually developed by Argonaut Games, which was kind of interesting, because I know they made that Bumblebee game that I did review on the N64. So, anyways, after playing this one for a bit, this game is not too bad. I mean, considering I got it for $2, I wasn't really expecting much, and it's actually not too bad at all. The only complaint I do have is that the turning can be a little bit slippery at times, but it's not awful or anything like that. It's not like that one game I got on the original Xbox some time ago where that game was just gah. But this one, though, was actually not bad at all for what it is. I mean, obviously, I don't think this would be like a $50 game, day one purchase sort of deal, but I'd say for really, really cheap, which it is, because I've seen it around before, I'd say it actually isn't bad at all. I mean, it's not amazing, but definitely not bad. Now, as for the next PS2 game, although this one did not get out of the thrift store, I actually got it at the usual place that I go. And this is a fighting game, and it is Capcom Fighting Evolution, which basically is a fighting game from Capcom where it mixes a bunch of their games in together. Now, that does sound awesome, but the thing is, though, is that they don't take a whole lot of different franchises. I mean, it's like, okay, so you got Street Fighter Alpha, Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter 3. So you have 3 different Street Fighter like games, and you know, you just put them into one. Great. And then you got Darkstalkers, which is pretty cool. And then there's Red Earth, which is a very obscure fighting game that they made that was not ported to any systems, which kind of sucks because I played the bit of that game on MAME, and that game is actually very awesome. And I really like some of the characters in it too. So basically, it's kind of disappointing that they take like different like Street Fighter characters with different play styles and just put them into the game. I kind of wish they went a little bit more creative than that, but you know, other than that, the gameplay style is alright. I mean, it's not as awesome as you'd think it would sound because it's kind of weird because, like I said, because it's the different play styles, it kind of mashes them into one, and it just feels kind of weird where, you know, you'd have like one character would have like their health bar and their power bar or whatever, and then you'd be fighting another character that's from like something else, and you know, it'd look entirely different, and they'd play differently too, and it's kind of weird when you see them mash up together, so I don't know. For what it is, it's alright. I mean, I only got it for like $10, so, you know, that ain't bad at all. But either way, though, I think this game is actually okay. It's just not as great as you would think it would be. But I think they should do another idea similar to this, but just, you know, make it better and, of course, make more variety into it. It's just, you know, you gotta get used to certain weird aspects of it, though. Because, like I said, it's very quirky. And then this next PS2 game is also a fighting game, but this one I think is a bit better, or at least I had a lot more fun with it. And that happens to be Bloody Roar 4. Bloody Roar 4. I don't know, that sounds funny to me. But anyways, this is a part of the Bloody Roar series, obviously, and the only ones I ever played were the first one on PS1, which I actually own, and then there's one on the GameCube. It's not this one. It might be 3, or it might be called something else. I forget, but it's been years since I played that one, though. But anyways, so with that being said, this is a fighting game where it kind of plays like DOA, but the difference is that this one you can actually transform into like an animal and stuff, which is really cool. Like, I know this chick, like, well, she turns into whatever this is. Basically, she has like armor on and like a huge sword. And then there's like a guy that turns into a tiger, a guy that turns into like a wolf, and then there's a guy that turns into like a gecko. And this game's actually pretty good for what it is. I actually enjoy it for what it is. Okay, well, I'm saying for what it is a lot, but anyways, though, it's a really fun fighting game. I enjoy it. It's just a shame that this is the last one that they made, because after this they never made another one. And of course, Hudson Soft is into they got bought out by Konami, so yeah, there's no chance of them of reviving this series by any chance, which kind of sucks because I thought this was actually a pretty good fighting series for a while. And of course, a lot of people seem to have forgotten about it. Now, as for the last PS2 game, and this was a PS2 game that's been a long time coming for me, or at least ever since I first played the series, and this is something I've been playing the shit out of lately because I've been, like, addicted to it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, because it's a series I talk about pretty often enough, at least ever since I got into it, that happens to be Shadow Hearts Covenant, or Shadow Hearts 2 is what you would call it, because it's the second one in the series, unless you count the PS1 game, but as for like when it was actually called Shadow Hearts, it's number 2. So, in case you don't know, Shadow Hearts is a series that I really, really love a lot. At least I love the first one. The third one was pretty good too from what I played of it, but this one is definitely pretty damn fantastic. At least I'm loving the shit out of it. I'm like about like 14 hours, 15 hours, about somewhere in between there into it. I'm at the part where you pretty much just left Russia, which is pretty cool. But anyways, though, so I don't want to get like too much into it there, because I do definitely want to do a review on this game and the first one and the third one, and maybe eventually I'll do the one on PS1 called Kadoka. But basically, it's a really awesome RPG series that uses a very unique battle system where you have to like a circle, and it goes like around. You have to try and like hit the things on time. I don't know, it's really addicting. I really like it. It's really innovative. And of course it has like a really dark and gritty like atmosphere, and the fact that it has some really awesome music and has some really good funny moments, which I really like. Especially that dude who's like a superhero and he wears like a butterfly mask. Man, that guy is so fucking random. And of course Yuri, the main character of the first game, and yeah, he's the main character in here too. Of course, along with Karen. I had to remember her name. I was gonna call her Kira, but no, that's not it. But anyways, though, so yeah, he's really funny too, as good as I expected to be. So yeah, so for a sequel, this is definitely a very good follow-up, and I'm very happy to own it. And of course, I'm very happy that I'm actually finally playing it. So when I bought this game, I actually got it like online because I couldn't find it like anywhere near me at all. So I had to order it. And usually I don't really order games online very often, mainly because, well, for one, I don't have a credit card. And secondly, PayPal has not been very good to me lately because, not just lately, they've never been good to me at all because I can never access my account. So basically, if you want to know how I get stuff online, which I barely ever do, is that I kind of have to do the really dumb thing to do, is that I have to ask my parents to get something for me and then I have to pay them back, which I don't like doing that only because I just don't like asking for things, but I'll only do it if it's something I really, really, really want, and this is definitely something I really, really, really wanted, so, you know, it only costed like $38.99, but of course there's also tax, and then there's the shipping, and by the way, shipping from US to Canada is retarded expensive, and then of course there's also the price conversion, which is also kind of a lot, so it went up to like, well, like 60 something dollars, but either way, I was definitely very happy about that because this is something I really, really wanted. So there's only one game left, and this happens to be another RPG, and I haven't played this one at all because I got it like 2 days ago about? Well, 2 days when I'm recording this anyways. And this game just happens to be Radiant Historia on the DS from Atlas, which is pretty damn awesome. So, I've never played this one yet because, you know, I've been playing Shadow Hearts Covenant lately, but I will definitely get into this one, and I really can't wait to do so, mainly because I first heard about this game from the YouTube channel, Bossenberg. He did a really good review on it, like, some time ago, and it seemed really interesting. And then I found out that a friend of mine, she actually owned the game, and I was like, oh shit, you actually have this game? And she's like, yeah, this game's actually pretty great. It uses time travel and stuff, and it has a really cool battle system as well, so I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to get this game eventually. Just haven't gotten around to it, haven't seen it around, which is kind of weird because this game actually did get a reprint because this is the original version that comes with the, because this isn't like the actual case, this is like the box, like the cardboard case, which, you know, it has like this music CD in it, which I'll show you guys real quick. I mean, it's not going to take too long. And also this thing is like a bitch to open because like I really tried to open it without like damaging it, but basically, yeah, that's what the CD looks like. It's pretty cool looking. But, yeah, so I just did a little bit of mini unboxing here, but there's just not a whole lot to it, so it's okay. But, still, it's the CD for it, and from what I remember of the music in this game, I remember it sounding pretty cool, so, you know, like, I'm pretty happy about that. But I definitely can't wait to get in this one. It definitely looked really awesome. I mean, I love the concept of it, where you get to go, like, travel through time, and then there are certain parts where you kind of have to, like, go to like another point in time to get something, and then you have to go back and you can finally get through it and stuff. It's definitely really interesting, and of course Atlas usually means it's going to be a good sign because they actually developed and published this one, so yeah, that's always a good sign. So that's all the stuff that I got for the month of April, and well, as always, I'm always very happy about everything, and of course everything is pretty damn awesome and all that good stuff. You know, you already know that. Like, I'm very always thankful for this and that. And of course, I'm always hoping that other people will get interested in some of these games if you've never heard of them before, or if there's a chance that you know about them, but you don't know a whole lot about them, you know, all that good stuff. Because that's the reason why I like doing these, is because I hope other people would get interested into talking about some of these games, and of course, maybe sharing their memories, and, you know, all that good kind of stuff. So, anyways, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching and commenting.